So the licensing office has started running a raffle. You cannot renew anything until you win, kept in a locked.
So this is not a video about a store that sells cheap things. Cheap things are fine, it's okay. This is about the 20 minutes between deciding to buy a phone cable and being permitted to buy a fucking phone cable. And about the fact that several governments have now put that experience into legal documents. And it starts with what actually happens. So you open the app, and before you see a fucking product, you see a wheel. You spin the wheel, you win. Everyone wins. A number appears, 90% off, 95% off. It's sometimes a percentage that does not even correspond to any arrangement of money that has ever existed. And the timer starts. And the timer is counting down to the expiry of a discount you did not ask for and on an item you have not chosen. So you try to search, you get another animation, you get free gifts, plural, that requires selecting 6 of them. So you get a second wheel, and you get an invitation to invite someone. And there is, at some point, a fucking fish. So you find the cable, you tap the cable, and the cable is now a different price, because the picture was one variant, and the listing is another. And there is a flame icon next to a version that costs more. So you add it to the cart, and a window opens. Adding one more item unlocks something. And you do not want more item, you just want the fucking cable. And this is the part I want to be precise about, because it is the actual thesis, right? At no point in that sequence is the app trying to stop you from buying. It is trying to stop you from deciding. And those are different projects. And the second one, it takes longer. I have spun that wheel. I did not need a coupon. I just wanted a cable. Now the reason this is not just me being pissed about it is on the 8th of November 2024, the Consumer Protection Corporation Network, which is a body that coordinates national consumer authorities across the European Union. They formally notified Temu that a list of practices on its platform breached some European consumer law. So the action was led by the authorities of Belgium, Germany, and Ireland, with the Commission coordinating. So the list included many fake discounts, meaning that a discount presented where none exists. That is what is. This is a fake discount. Pressure selling, meaning false claims about limited stock and a false purchase deadlines. Also missing and incorrect information about return and refund rights, fake reviews, contact details for the company itself that consumers could not locate, and also forced gamification, which the Commission defined in writing as making consumers play a spin the fortune wheel game in order to access the marketplace, while keeping the conditions attached to the price out of view. So that is the state of things. This is where we are. There is a functioning bureaucracy in Brussels with staff and a budget whose considered position is that you should be allowed to look at a fucking spatula or a clock without first competing for it, which makes sense. So 6 months before that, in May 2024, the European Consumer Organization had filed a complaint of its own, joined by 17 national member groups. So they use the term dark patterns, which is the general name for any interface design that steers a decision rather than just presenting one. They flag the pricing behavior where when you click a product, it just gives you more expensive versions of it. And they describe, closing a Temu account as an obstacle course. So at the time, Temu had roughly 75 million monthly users in Europe, and it had entered that market 13 months earlier. I should say clearly that all this describes interfaces as they were documented then. Apps change, right? Some of it has been adjusted, but the record is the record. But it is not live screenshot. October of 2024, the Commission opened the formal proceedings against Temu under the Digital Service Act, and one of the 14 it listed was addictive design. So here is where the story stops being funny, the way I expected. In September 2025, the Federal Trade Commission and the Department of Justice, they brought the first enforcement action ever filed upon the Informed Consumer Act. against Whaleco, the company that operates Temu, right? $2 million in civil penalties, plus a court order also. So the Informed Act is fairly a boring law, right? It requires online marketplaces to publish the real names and addresses of high-volume third-party sellers, and to give shoppers a working way to report any listing that looks stolen, counterfeit, or unsafe, right? That is the entire purpose. So it exists so that when something arrives and it is wrong, a person just can find out who sent it and complain about it. And the complaint is where the joke turns into a floor plan. So the government alleged that Temu's marketplace has two ways to browse. So there is the standard way through the homepage and the search result, and there is what the FTC itself calls the gamified shopping experiences, where you play, you spin the wheels, and you collect coupons while viewing shortened version of a product listings. So the reporting mechanism, according to the complaint, was absent from the gamified listings until November 2024, and the seller identity information was missing there too, or just present in a form the government said that was not clear and maybe was conspicuous. So there was no working phone line for just reporting anything at all until January 2024, 18 months after the law took effect. So the wheel is not decoration on top of the store. It is a second version of the store with thinner labels where the safety disclosures are not yet maybe been installed, right? So the confetti was just covering the part of the listing that tells you who is sending you the object. So Temu agreed to the order and paid. It has said that it worked closely with the agency and made substantial effort to address what was identified. $2 million at that scale is the cost of finding out. It is also somewhat more than I will earn in my entire life, which mostly tells you which of us is being taken seriously. Then on the 28th of May this year, the European Commission, they fined Temu 200 million euros. That's a lot of guacamole. So that is the largest penalty that has ever been issued under the Digital Service Act to date. It is larger than the 120 million imposed on X in December 2025. And it is not for the wheel, this matters. And most coverage blurred it, right? But the fine is for the risk assessment. So under the Act, a platform of that size has to identify and analyze the system risk its own service creates, right? So the Commission found that Temu's 2024 assessment was built on general information about the e-commerce sector rather than just evidence about Temu specifically, and that it badly underestimated how the European consumers would encounter illegal terms. So the Commission also found out that Temu had not properly assessed how its own design contributed, including its recommender systems and its affiliate program with influencers. So the investigation included mystery shopping. Of the chargers selected for testing, a very high percentage failed just basic safety tests. And of the baby toys tested, a high percentage presented risk ranging from excessive chemical content to small parts that come off. So while the interface is congratulating you for pressing a button, spinning a wheels or whatever, the object underneath the animation is a charger that a laboratory would like a word about, basically. So Temu has until the 28th of August to submit some kind of plan for fixing the risk assessment. And if it does not, periodic penalties follow. So Temu is not some kind of search engine with a store that is attached to it. It is a discovery marketplace, basically. So nobody wakes you up, needing a $4 gadget, which means that the entire business depends on showing you something you had not thought of. The discounts, whatever the fake ones are doing, it is on top of prices that are genuinely lower, which brings me to the thing I will not be too clever about. For a large number of people, Temu is not a curiosity or a joke about consumerism. It is the household budget, right? Sneering at somebody for buying a $9 coat is maybe it's just a class position.
Ronan was moved to a different building in June.